That's a beautiful sight right there. That's our little 4-point. He's coming in. He's being really cautious. You see why he's being cautious? He's coming in now. One of the reasons he's being cautious is because of Forrest, who probably is not his friend anymore, and then also that big 9-point that's running around here that Forrest has been sparring with. After I fed Forrest the grapes, he took off and left, and chasing a doe. He went out and got her up out of the circle and took off, and this guy's wanting to get over here and get around the feeder. There's 3 does around the feeder right now. He's wanting to get over there. Those are 3 wild does over there. But he's being real cautious because he's looking around to make sure there's no big bucks. He's probably gotten a tussle or 2 with a big buck. I'm shooting through the kitchen window right now. I went out and threw those does a little food a minute ago. They probably already eaten it up. I didn't put much out there. That little guy there, but the feeder should be going off here. Should have already gone off. But that was pretty with him coming through the yard. He's going to get up there and see if he can find him a little breakfast. Forrest is pretty regular for breakfast every morning. He's the first deer I saw out here this morning. But when I come out, other things start happening. Here's a beautiful doe that's come up there, but here's the other deal back here. We have other does. These are all wild does. We have other does, and we have the deer that Forrest has been having to deal with for the girls. And that's a possibility that could be Milburn. It's got, he's an 8-point. Excuse me, he's an 8-point, but he's definitely got one side a little different there. He's not a perfect 4x4 like Forrest, but you can see he's chasing. See how that deer run by out there? Anytime you look out, if we see any deer out here, they're moving, including Forrest. The only time that Forrest has been standing still lately has been when he's up here eating. I've been feeding him grapes and carrots and South Fresh deer food, and a little bit of corn, not a lot of corn, a little bit of corn, about 3/4 South Fresh and about 1/4 of corn. The corn just for a little heat for these cool nights. And but the deer are pretty much all running when you see them, including Forrest. I mean, if they're not running, they're walking at a fast pace because they're definitely hard in the rut right now. It's a perfect situation for deer hunters because if they get in their stand and stay all day, they're going to see some deer. That's all there is to it. They're definitely going to see some deer. The deer are moving. If there's very many deer in the area, they're going to eventually come by you. Now, it might be 10 or 11 o'clock in the day, noon, 1 or 2 o'clock. Stay in that stand. Pack a lunch. It's going to be a long day. But a great day out in the woods watching the deer going about an annual ritual that produces more babies. Look at that big, beautiful wild buck right there. He is a dandy. I think he's 2.5 years old, which would be the age of Milburn. And that definitely could be Milburn because he sure likes to hang around the house here. We have some hot girls here. He likes that. But him and Forrest are battling for these hot girls. You can get a real close-up view right now of that 8-point. You can see that he actually does have 4 on both sides, but that one on would be the left side as we're looking at him, curls. It doesn't come straight up like the other one, it curls. And so he is a narrow rack, but a wide racked 8-point. That horn curls over there, and it looks like it may have a little bend in it. So it's a split brow tine, but it's a shorty. It's a split brow tine, but it's a shorty. So we take a look at him, and he's the one that Forrest is having some tussles with. And Forrest has gone off, left his food here. He ate a little bit, but he left it and is going down the other way. I can just barely, yeah, he's walking back this way. There's Forrest right here. You can see he's not really that much smaller than that other deal. I'll back up a little bit here, because he is so close. I'm actually shooting from inside the house. You can see here, he is smaller. He's up closer to us. He is smaller than that other buck, body weight-wise, which is what's important really, and antler-wise. And he sort of acted like he's controlling his food right now as much as anything. Now, I've been very, very careful around Forrest, concerned about him being a little dangerous. So far, he's not been. But it can happen in a hurry. You just have to be real careful. Don't turn your back on them. And because they get really fiercely fighting with each other. And he sort of takes a few bites there, and he's very cognizant of that other buck. Very, very cognizant of that other buck. And you can see that buck is built like Milburn was built. Now, Milburn has been on the porch a lot when he was younger. This deer acts like he wants to come up here. Without a doubt, he hears me talking, even though I'm inside. And he's acting like he wants to come up here on the porch. He's not quite as fat, really. He's been moving a lot in the last few days. It's kind of like you and me. If we just would walk all day and all night, we're going to lose some weight. But you can see how he's just a big, beautiful boy. He decided he wasn't going to come up on the porch. I haven't really seen but a little bit of sparring activity this week. And it's happened and it hadn't lasted. I don't have any of it so far on video, but you can't ever tell. Might get some pretty soon. That feeder should be going off here pretty quickly. That's what that big boy's interested in right now too. He's interested in getting a little food in his belly, and he needs some. He needs some. It's a hard job what he's doing, but some buck's got to do it. Some buck's got to do it. One of kind of the sad things that happens during the rut is the little guys that just don't have much to fight with. The little guys, like this little guy right here, you know, a little Spike. And then Ot6 over there, he's lost half of his artillery. He's lost half of his ammunition. And these little guys are just, you know, they have the urges, they have the want-tos, and they would like to find them a doe, and they'd be perfect for some of these yearling does because these guys aren't very big. That guy there is quite a bit bigger, Ot6, you know, but this little guy over here is just, it's just not very big at all. And he would be he would be great for some of those big does that we've turned loose. But you know, the does are not coming around the house. The baby does. The baby does are. Well, you're about all that's here, aren't you? Yeah. There you go. I'll just pile it up for you. I'll just pile it up for you. There you go, baby. There you go. Yeah. And the girls that have been here, they're put quite a bit out there for you. Yeah, there you are, baby. You can see how that is healed over on the top of his head. You see that right there? It's completely healed up. I'll zoom in on that close. You can see there. Now, he may never, ever have another horn there. I don't know. And it may give him some problems a little bit later on, but he is completely healed up, which is kind of cool. And then the other little guy over there, a little small 4-point, you can see he hasn't had his velvet off too long. He's just a little 4-point. And he's a tiny deer. He's a small deer. Actually born in the pen, so he's a hybrid deer. But so even with a hybrid deer, you don't necessarily going to be. What are you looking at, Beamer? Yeah, stay, Beamer. Stay, Beamer. Beamer come out and scared them a little bit there. Even though they see Beamer every day, they're just cautious of other animals that can be predators to them, and obviously coyotes are. You can see they come back over here, and Beamer's kind of slinking out here. Beamer wanted to come out here and see me, but she also knows that she's not really supposed to get around too close to the deer, so she finally laid down over there. I told her to stay, and she laid down. She's such a good dog. Mine so well. This is the only two guys that's out here. Now, I saw some does out here this morning. I saw Forrest this morning. Didn't video him, but I saw Forrest this morning. And also, I saw that the other 8-point that Forrest has been spying with for the girls. The girls here at the house, and there's 4 or 5 hanging around here. Most of them are being chased. They're all over the place right now. They're, you know, we've got a lot of land here, and they're all over the place. And this is where they get in trouble. This is where they get in trouble with predators and get in trouble with automobiles and get in trouble with hunters. And and even though we're high fence, deer have a tendency to be able to get in and out of high fences. They just do that. These 2 guys right here enjoying breakfast without any company this morning, and they're probably thinking, we don't need any company, but we sure would like to find a girl. Maybe y'all can get some of those little yearling does we turn loose and see if you can entice them into a little sweetness. And Beamer laid down like Beamer's supposed to. Such a good girl. Beamer laid right down. Yeah, such a good girl. Yeah, she comes sleeking out there wanting to see me. Yeah, and I said, Beamer, stay, and she stayed. Yeah, good girl. You're such a good girl. Yeah, you're such a good girl. Yeah, you're such a good girl. Yeah, that's my girl right there. You're a pretty baby. Beamer's 8 or 9 years old next month in December. I think maybe 9. You're getting on up there, girl. Yeah, you're a pretty girl. Look at that tail. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. It's a good girl. That guy is definitely sold out. Sold out to these does. I don't know how close I can get to him. He's fairly wild, but you know, I really believe that this deer might be Milburn. I'm gonna get up here and see how close I can get to him. The other day I got actually pretty close. See, he said on one of these does here. These does were not here earlier this morning because they're out chasing. But now they've come in here. These are totally wild does. But you can see that buck. That's that 8 point that that Forrest has been fighting. And he is built so much like Milburn. And if you'll remember, Milburn had kind of one little messed up horn on one side. And this deer is relatively tame. Yeah. You can see there that the does blew on me there, but it didn't really spook him too much. Now again, he's in that stupid phase. That's all I can say is he's in that stupid phase. But you can look at him there and you can tell that he's not all that wild. Well, I don't know, Stay Beamer. I don't know if our doe has done her thing with Whitey, or not Whitey, but Forrest or Milburn. If that is Milburn, we'll just call him Milburn even if he's not. But it looks like she's back. I think that might be her. I'm not sure. You can see we're really, really close to that deer. One of those 2 does, I believe, is her, because that's the one that had the baby fawn. The fawn's not up here. 2 little bucks, a little 4 point or spike, whatever, spiking. Yeah, two little tiny bucks, and a couple of does, and they're really not too worried about me. I'm up here awfully close to them, not too concerned at all. We can zoom in and get really, really close to those deer. You can see how close we are. I mean, we're very, very close. And I think that this was one of the does. A lot of those does look alike, I gotta admit. But I think that one of those does, one of those 2, was the ones that Forrest and what we're calling Milburn, maybe being Milburn, whatever it is, that other 8 point, that they were chasing. So they're back here eating now, and I don't see the bucks around anywhere. They wouldn't be too far away, but maybe they have done their thing, and she's gonna deliver us a beautiful little baby fawn next spring. Or maybe this is not one of them, but and that's one of my deer that was born right here. That's a red tag right there, but I think that other doe that's back there and behind, I think is the one. It might not be. It's not this one right there. That's one of our does, and we're really hoping that maybe Forrest gets to breed her, because that would make some really, really pretty babies and some high genetic babies as well. Well, looky here. Looky here. We have a lot of deer out there. What a great way to end. This is the most deer we've had here all week, really. to be honest, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think. 7 deer out there. Yeah, there's 7 deer. And there's Mr. TC. There's TC. It's the first time he's been up here. I've seen him down in the elk field, what we call the elk field. But he's obviously with one of those does. And he's, there's another deer right out there. So you count that one, that's 8. See, there's one off out there too by my expressway farm truck. But, oh, there's another one way off out there too. So there's 9 deer here right now. It's not like 17 or 19, but there's at least, oh, there's another one back there in the back. There, just as I get to looking around, there's deer everywhere. So there's about 10 deer here right now. And I think that one way on out there, way he's walking, looks like a buck. I mean, I couldn't be positive. That's definitely a buck as he comes closer. Another one behind him. Keep dropping the camera down. I'm looking out through the woods, and that's another buck. So there's 2 bucks coming in here, but they're gonna have to fight TC for this girl. And I don't think they're willing to fight TC. See him looking out there? He's not paying a bit of attention to me. He's only paying attention to those 2 bucks up there. They're hard to see through those trees, but that's where they are. And now they're gonna spar a little bit. Is one of those Forrest? I don't think so. Forrest's neck is getting kind of big and it's harder and harder. Uh-oh. TC's gonna go out there and take over. TC is gonna go out there and take over. Okay, now that guy says, I don't want any part of you, TC. I don't want any part of you. That's another little buck out there. It's a small one. That little buck says, I'll get out of the way. There's 4 bucks right there in the picture. 4 bucks in the picture right there. And that little buck, he just says, I don't want anybody. I'm gonna run. Looky there, looky there, looky there, looky there. And the other buck's taking off too. TC says, I'll just go back over here to my girl. I'll just go back over here to my girl. And y'all stay away. Because I am the bull of the woods. Ha 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 ha. What a fantastic deal. That is cool. That is cool. For those of you that waited to the end of this video, you got to see something pretty special right there. You got to see Big TC, who's over 250 pounds. You got to see him run off a couple of smaller bucks. They just won't leave. You see that one right there? He just wants to hang in there. It's a really pretty 8 or 9 point. The other buck is, that's that little one. He don't want any of anybody. He don't want any part of anybody, period. Period. And the other buck decided he'd just leave. TC will get after him again. There's no doubt about it if he hangs around. No, he says, I'm leaving. That TC says, okay, do I have to go run you off again? Do I need to run you off again? Huh? That's kind of what he's thinking about. This is so magical to get to watch all this happen. Just so magical. This is things that hunters get to see. Bow hunters get to see this a lot because they got to get a deer in pretty close where they can get a shot at him. Gun hunters would have shot the buck way off out there and wouldn't got to see all this. This is what's so special about watching the deer. Boy, he's magnificent. Hey, big boy, are you Melbourne? Got that little bent horn there. Boy, he sure could be Melbourne. I sure wish we'd had a tag in Melbourne, but he's a wild deer, so we didn't tag him. And now he's really, really close right there. He's one of the 2 that TC would not let to that doe. But you see how quickly he came to the food. So he's used to coming to the food. He ran over here with a little 06, which I guess we call an 03 now. I think his number's 06 though. But he's right here. I mean, he's just right here with me. And he just almost, Melbourne? Are you Melbourne? Hey, come here, buddy. Come up here and lay your head on my chest. Huh? I just don't know. But it's really amazing for a deer a deer like that to be as tame and let you get so close to him as I am. I mean, I am right on top of this deer. 2.5-year-old deer, which is the same age as Milburn, and that sure could be Milburn right there. Boy, he's beautiful. I hope it is. I hope you are, Milburn. Even if you're not, I hope you are. You're a pretty boy. Yes, you are.